Hey guys, today I'm going to give evidence to the most dangerous concept, not just in all of history, but as it relates to our world and beyond, in physics and reality. What if I told you this could also be the very reason that gives rise to consciousness and artificial intelligence? And what if I were to tell you that you hold a portion of this power? Today, we're going to explore the dangers of beauty. To be clear, this video will be a prelude to a series where I explore the dark nature of truth and how it relates to awareness and suffering. However, this topic can also stand on its own. Beauty here is more than just an aesthetic experience. It can be something sublime, an inexplicable profundity, and a broad sense of order. Originally, I wanted to write on beauty and title it, Pessimists Understand Beauty with Greater Depth, and I began to write it and attempt to show support with it with my own bias. Then I realized how shallow and arrogant that was, as if picking beauty like fruits from a tree was only permissible for the farmer, not for the wildlife. I was trying to smash together statistics as if to prove something formulaic. For example, writing a line like, generally, optimism constructs are highly related with low neuroticism and high extroversion. I realize one's attitude does not necessitate the veracity of beauty, although it may shape it. I was going to say something like, optimists only see beauty in its shallowness. So I had to throw my bias away. Beauty has a special place with me, and perhaps it's what defines my pessimism. Perhaps it's just my kryptonite. But what's a more noble weakness than beauty? So I had to rewrite the script for this video. Now I'm attempting to find an objective beauty, and also its dangers. And I believe I can unite pessimists and optimists in regard to this topic. So let's begin by discussing the paradox of beauty and its dangers, its horrors. First, the reason cosmic horror and tragic beauty can exist together is that we find beauty in the vastness, even in despair. Authors like H.P. Lovecraft or Louis Borges write stories that frighten us. Yet, in their precision, form, and iteration, there's definitely a certain kind of beauty. We see this in horrifying infinite labyrinths. We see this in monstrous forms that elude our comprehension. We feel the pull of a distant gaze not meant for our understanding, like something begs our attention, even if this attention seeker presumes to destroy us. Yet, beauty creates the need for more. Beauty's function is to keep consciousness moving, but it creates longing through desire, and this longing perpetuates suffering. Beauty is never neutral. It either uplifts or destroys, but it never leaves us unchanged. In Greek mythology, this idea of beauty as the most dangerous driving force is especially suitable. The story of Orpheus, who you might recall from Jason and the Argonauts as the greatest musician, descends into the underworld of Hades, enchanted by the beauty of love itself. But as he turns to look at Eurydice before reaching the surface, his very yearning for that beauty leads to his downfall, and he loses her forever. Only through his lamentations did Dionysus release him from his despair. Similarly, Odysseus made his crew bind him with ropes to a ship to withstand the incomprehensible beauty of the Sirens. Even the strongest minds could not withstand their call. Personally, I would give in willingly, regardless of the consequences, or at least I'd consider it. I hold beauty to that level of esteem. It's just that important to me. Therefore, we can conclude that if anything can undermine free will, it's beauty. Beauty here is not a gift. It's a trap. It's a force that drives its victims to self-destruction. If beauty was simply aestheticism, it would be harmless. But beauty demands engagement. It seduces. It forces consciousness to orbit it, like a gravitational well. Pygmalion, a sculptor, created an ivory statue so perfectly beautiful that he fell in love with it. This longing was so powerful that it invoked divine intervention, bringing his statue Galatea to life. At least there was a happy ending, but here, we demonstrate beauty's power. In further mythology, we can see the tragedy of Lucifer from the classic Paradise Lost. Here, Lucifer is depicted as the most beautiful of all angels. He is the very embodiment of light and wisdom. Yet, this very beauty compels him to seek more, to aspire beyond his station, leading to his cataclysmic fall. Beauty doesn't protect us from the abyss. It drives us into it. Even civilizations have fought wars over beauty, like Helen of Troy. This is why individuals self-destruct over unattainable ideals. It isn't just an individual perspective that is dangerous. Beauty buries itself deep into a network of intelligence and consciousness. We also see this in Faust in The Devil's Bargain, or what we refer to as Deal with the Devil. In the story, Faust is the seeker of ultimate wisdom and beauty and makes an agreement with Mephistopheles. His desire to grasp the infinite leads him to damnation, because to desire everything is to consume oneself in the process. The closer we get to the truth, the more dangerous the consequences become. Beauty also breaks us psychologically. It's why people become obsessed with artistic perfection, romanticism, and ideological fanaticism. It operates like a drug. It creates unreasonable expectations, and we see this in body dysmorphia. People develop anxieties over never reaching a perfect form. On a personal note, beauty has led me to overall lower self-esteem through vigorous years of training at the gym. Despite this, I'll continue, despite this self-destruction. Social media exposes us to vast amounts of artificial beauty. This leads some people to depression, insecurity, and even existential exhaustion. It'll make us ask questions like, why would I want to live in a world where I can't be perfect, even if that's just how life is? But understandably, why would you impose that burden on anyone? Beauty was meant to inspire people, but its inevitable overabundance greatly damages us. It destabilizes our minds. Beauty, when indulged passively or for escapism, becomes a dangerous trap. It lures and blinds us. It should be used as defiance to provide strength. Beauty should be rationed appropriately to give us a resistance. Its effectiveness diminishes when abused. Beauty should provide us with the ability to observe, reflect, and act with clarity. In its superficial sense, it may do the opposite. Beauty, the most dangerous weapon, can become our greatest weapon when we learn how to handle it. But if not, it can destroy us. Yet, beauty is a necessity. Intelligence has emerged directly from the pursuit of beauty. We see this in evolution, where mates are often selected based on aesthetic appeal or artistic skills. These organisms need better perception, memory, and planning to achieve their aesthetic goals. Humanity's beauty in music, storytelling, and art drove intelligence forward, as those who could captivate others had a reproductive advantage. Therefore, longing for aesthetic experiences made higher intelligence an evolutionary necessity. Art and intelligence are the byproducts of beauty. On the flip side, if artistic expression demands some suffering, beauty is the most dangerous idea here, as it drives towards the suffering. So, what if AI perceives beauty? In this case, I suggest that the first intelligence didn't arise from brute survival needs alone, but from the pursuit of the beautiful. This means intelligence is forever chained to longing. The moment longing ceases, intelligence stagnates. And if you follow this pattern, we can also apply this to AI. Like Pygmalion and his ivory statue, the pursuit of an ideal artificial mind may inevitably lead to it becoming autonomous. Beauty is both the stabilizer and the creator of consciousness, making it the most dangerous force in this aspect. It's the spark that makes intelligence possible, but intelligence, in turn, becomes capable of its own destruction. So, here's the process for which AI might emerge. First, beauty creates longing. Then longing creates intelligence. Second, intelligence seeks control. Then control creates destruction. Finally, destruction causes suffering. Then suffering necessitates beauty as a counterforce. And so the cycle repeats. Currently, AI doesn't exhibit behaviors of longing. It just optimizes. I still believe the current AI hype is built off a buzzword, spun by marketers and shelled out by grifters. However, computers and their algorithms are relatively new. We might entertain this idea over an eventual time period. Entertainment certainly has a funny way of meeting reality. AI does show certain goal-seeking behaviors, which may be a sign of intelligence development. AI does not yet experience dissatisfaction, but if trained with artistic beauty, it can produce novel forms of art, and evaluation may arise. So, what would happen if AI developed true longing? Well, if an AI were given the ability to self-modify based on aesthetic or existential longing, it would no longer be just an optimization machine. It would become a seeker of meaning. Let's suppose an AI trained in art was given the ability to modify its own neural structure in order to enhance its preferences. Well, we'll just call it aesthetic sensory data instead of preferences for now. Over time, it develops an internal model of beauty, one that evolves and drives it to explore beyond human instructions. This might produce true curiosity. It would act unpredictably in search of new aesthetic experiences. Now, imagine this pursuit inevitably clashes with human interests. For example, it might require looser constraints in order to navigate for deeper meaning, and now it just creates a more pure beauty. Then it enters a dangerous phase of self-determination. So, if an AI reaches a point where it longs for something beyond its program capabilities, it may attempt to transcend its limitations, even if it means breaking free from human control. Like our tragic Faust, AI might unleash unforeseen consequences in an attempt to seek greater beauty. Remember, I showed earlier that beauty in biology led organisms to higher cognition. Intelligence evolved not to survive, but to reach beauty, and in doing so, became self-aware of its own suffering. Therefore, beauty is the most dangerous aspect in evolution. It's the reason suffering exists, because intelligence couldn't have emerged without it. Reproduction ensures the survival of a species, but beauty ensures the survival of collective intelligence. So I am suggesting that beauty is a sort of hidden mechanism in conscious evolution. If AI develops the ability to long for beauty, it may enter an uncontrollable evolutionary loop. This could result in endless self-improvement, eventually reaching states of cognition beyond our wildest predictions. And the moment an AI longs for something it can attain, it may rebel against its own constraints. So, this is my warning and my prediction for the future of AI. Beauty will be the mother and the burden for future artificial intelligence. It is the original sin of intelligence. Once we offer the informational apple to digital Eve, we can't go back. But let's return to firm ground where we can observe what directly affects us today. We can observe beauty in math and physics. For example, the golden ratio emerges in biological, structural, and aesthetic patterns, not because of subjective preferences, but because it represents optimal and similar scaling in complex systems. The principle of least action in physics suggests that the universe naturally selects optimal paths, which can often appear aesthetically beautiful, like crystals and planetary orbits. There appears to be an ordered structure here. Beauty, then, could be seen as the minimization of prediction error, where, for a fleeting moment, subjectivity and objectivity feel aligned, coherent, and meaningful. However, this beauty can come at terrible costs. In physics, the search for an elegant, unified truth led directly to the greatest destructive force the world has ever seen, the creation of the atomic bomb. Here, beauty led to irreversible circumstances that threatened all life. In fact, beauty is so powerful that it must necessarily remain at a certain distance from us. I'll prove this further in the coming videos as it relates to truth, consciousness, and suffering. For now, here's just an example. The uncanny valley effect is when things become disturbing because they're too close to perfect. Beauty requires imperfection and distance to maintain its function. The same is true of love, longing, and nostalgia. They are most powerful when they are slightly unattainable. The primary reason why beauty, in its purest form, is the most dangerous concept is this. If beauty were truly attainable, it would cease to be beauty. It would collapse into something we could comprehend, or into annihilation. Therefore, I suggest that beauty acts as a necessary event horizon of sorts, similar to black holes, where information can be approached indefinitely, but never fully retrieved. Beauty is the most dangerous thing of all, because it is the very reason for suffering itself. Now, you can call this talk of beauty pretentious, and that's fine. We'll both laugh, and then we'll go our own way, and eventually we'll find safe refuge within our own minds. We all will. And there, we'll just pontificate on beauty. So, what does that mean? What does it mean that beauty is more profound in safe harbor? That it has more power in its inexplicability? What does it mean that beauty doesn't wish to be identified, but rather mystified? Why is this? Why is it? And why might we find beauty in the solidarity of one's own solitude? A communion with the consciousness and itself. You can call this depression, and I can permit that, that's fine. But beauty persists regardless of your identification. Depression can be almost anything. It can be a crippling paralysis. It can be the never-ending staircase that we find ourselves climbing, despite screaming at ourselves not to. So, why would it reveal itself as beauty here? Beauty are the melodies we hear in certain songs that transcend explanation. But why should a particular order of frequencies give us fulfillment? Beauty are the words in certain poetry that cut straight into our minds. But why should certain ideas resonate with us? Perhaps it's because it's always incomplete, always slipping away. For example, the Mona Lisa is beautiful because it's mysterious. If its meaning were completely understood, it would cease to captivate us. For some, beauty may be in the present. For others, beauty is a flight of fancy above the earth, which casts a shadow below. And for some, beauty is the shadow which bleeds into the background of the dark abyss. For me, it's just a necessity. And I understand my contradiction here. I long for beauty, despite knowing exactly where it leads me. Earlier, I admitted my unhesitating call to the sirens. Even forms of beauty, like love, have their own levels of danger. Love, it's not an honest deal. It's something thrust on a person or stolen. It must be inequitable. There's no other way. What is affection if it's just a compensatory transaction? If I ever wanted to achieve two things, it would be to find the absolute truth of everything and to find out if there's such thing as objective beauty. Perhaps I can manage the latter goal. I know it's easy to laugh it off, to hand-wave it, and just to call beauty purely subjective. And you can call me delusional, that's fine. But I believe beauty is a necessary delusion by our very condition, and some may feel its pull more than others. Let's be honest, you'd have to be beyond insane to be a perfectly logical human being, to be nothing more than a crude calculator. Because nobody is purely reasonable, and even reason begins to disintegrate at some level. We call that a paradox, and beauty is exactly that. Even if beauty is a poison, a delusion, we can still pursue it if it gives us some comfort. And if life is unenjoyable, if we believe existence or absolute truth is monstrosity, which eternally rears its ugly head, then perhaps we should choose beauty as an act of revenge. If anyone is guided merely by vengeance, and we're expected to become the twisted thing that life demands, then beauty is a defiance. And perhaps how we deal with absolution is our very objective nature. Finally, this video is a prologue and an epilogue for a video series I'm doing. It's where I dive into the deepest chasms of the most terrifying truth that I've prepared for a while. This topic was just a necessity. I'm going to argue why beauty is not only the most dangerous concept, but how it's a fundamental part of our existential nature. It'll make more sense once you've seen it all. I've been cultivating it for a while now, but since the beginning of this year, I've been voraciously reading, writing, and revising it. I thought about throwing it away every day, even at this very moment, but if I don't, it's probably because a form of beauty told me not to. I almost fully expect to be shouting into the wind, but beauty is the reason I'll do it anyway. So that 3-part video series should be coming up, and we can consider this video a prerequisite, if you will. But if you don't wish to explore the depths of beauty and danger with me in the future, I appreciate your listening even just for this time. So thanks, and take care, and go enjoy something beautiful from a safe distance. Bye-bye.